nervous system. We'll start our discussion on nervous system. This is introductory class. Nervous system, the major functional unit, that is neuron. The neuron is the major functional unit of nervous system. The nervous system, it is built up of two cells like neuron and neuroglia. So the main functional unit or functional cell is neuron. They are the excited cell or a specialist cell for excitation and carrying informations or receiving informations. And functioning of the neurons or supporting the neuron for proper functioning, the neuroglia cells play a very important role. And these are the neuroglia cell, microglia, ependymal cell, oligodendrocyte, astrocyte, which also play a very important role to participate in the blood-brain barrier. So neuron have dendrite in the soma, which are mainly for information receiving area. And they receive the information and the neuron is excited or inhibited. So these are the area dendrites and soma. They receive the information from other neurons mainly. Then axons, if the neuron is excited, then axon takes the information to other cells. So it has a synapse. When another neuron, it communicate information to one neuron to another neuron, they form a synapse. So if the synapse between an axon and the dendrite, this is called exodendritic synapse. And if the axon synapse with the soma, then exosomatic synapse. And some axon may synapse with the axon, so axonic synapse. So these are the synapse, three types of synapse we can find for communication or synapse formation, or synapse to communicate each other, neurons. They play a very important role for the proper functioning and provide a good environment for the neuronal function. Neuroglia, which are in the peripheral nervous systems, are satellite cell. They surround the neuron cell bodies in ganglia. Also, they regulate the oxygen, carbon dioxide, nutrient, and neurotransmitter level around neurons in ganglia. And one of the important glial cell is swan cell that form the myelination in the peripheral nerve. And this swan cell also help repair or growth of the axon. Play a very important role for the development of the growth of the damaged neuron or axon in the peripheral nervous system. And swan cell, they form the myelinations and enhance the communication or the movement of axon potential. Central nervous system, the neuroglia, like oligodendrocyte, they form the myelination in the central nervous system. Oligodendrocyte, one cell, they can form myelination more than one neuron. But one cell, they can only myelinate to one cell. They cannot, same cell cannot myelinate to another cell. But oligodendrocyte, they can myelinate, one cell can myelinate to more than one neuron. And they provide the structural framework. And astrocyte, they take part in the formation of blood-brain barrier, provide structural support, and also it provide good environment for the axonal or neuronal activity, regulate ion, nutrient, dissolve, gas concentration, absorb and recycle neurotransmitters, form scar tissue after injury. Ependymal cell, they play a very important role for the formation and circulation of the cerebrospinal fluid. Microglia, they are the defensive cell in the nervous system or phagocytic activity. So function of neuroglia. The function of neuroglia, it gives the physical and metabolic support to the neuron, neuronal insulation and communication. Because of myelination, the information action potential goes very fast. And nutrient and the waste, water transport and myelin sheath modulating the growth of damaged neuron and also modulating growth of developing neuron. Buffering extracellular ion concentration. So some of the ion concentration have to maintain, and this neuroglia play very important role for maintenance of the ion concentration. So the neuron action potential or the excitation will continue in a normal way. So immune response, they provide the immune defense or against the organism, or they respond or immune responses by the neuroglial cell. Neuroglia, they do not produce the action potential, but indirectly monitor electrical activity of neuron, modulate the effectiveness of neuronal communication. The organization of the nervous system. The nervous system is divided into central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system, the brain and the spinal cord. And the central nervous system, they sends command to the target tissue, that is somatic or the visceral for functioning or specific function. So from CNS, then it goes to the peripheral system as a target organ for functioning, for a specific function. And from periphery or the somatic on the visceral organ, somatic skin like retina or this organ or the muscle, they receive the information or carries the informations there to the CNS. So the CNS accordingly they react or respond through the effector system. The information which brings from CNS to this target organ, that is efferent system motor, and information that takes from the somatic or visceral or internal or external to the CNS, that is efferent sensory or efferent neuron or the sensory neuron. So the function of nervous system, they receive the information through efferent neuron or sensory neuron from PNS, peripheral nervous system. It takes information to the CNS where the integration takes place. The integration or the processing of the information. And accordingly, after processing, the whatever information they receive from the efferent neuron or sensory neuron, it will process, integrate, and then the effector or the motor output carries out to the peripheral nervous system or the target organ through the peripheral nervous system. So CNS, they receive the information, send commands by the motor or efferent neuron to the target organ. And from the target organ, the receptors, they are activated and sends through the sensory neuron and to the CNS or through the environment. They receive the information from the environment and it integrate, and then the CNS will decide or send commands to the effector cell. It has three classes of neuron: afferent, efferent, and association. Association or interneuron, where the integration or that play very significant. These neurons are important for integration functioning. This neuron, they receive the information, integration, afferent information, and formulating an efferent response. So the functional organization of nervous systems is a brain, central nervous system. So after receiving the information, sensory receptor, so these informations are processed in the brain or central nervous system, brain and spinal cord, and then they send the command by efferent neuron and to the somatic motor neuron. They control the skeletal muscle or autonomic neurons through parasympathetic, sympathetic to the smooth muscle, cardiac muscle, exocrine gland cells, or different target organ. An autonomic nervous system or the enteric nervous system, this nervous system where here also the integration takes place. And this neuron, enteric nervous system, can regulate independently or without the intervention of CNS. So because of that, this system or enteric nervous system, also known as second brain, and from there, enteric nervous system, it sends the signal through the afferent and the CNS. They receive the information and then effector. So this process from the tissue receive the sensory information. So the main function of nervous system, it receives the information, process it, and then sends the command or response according the information that receives. So afferent neuron or afferent sensory neuron, they receive the information or they carries the information from the peripheral or the target organ to the CNS, and they enter these neurons, the nerve, they enter through dorsal root of spinal cord or CNS. They enter by the dorsal root to the CNS, spinal cord, and takes to the brain. Efferent, the neuron which brings the command from CNS, they comes out by the ventral root and to the target organ. Neuronal system, they cannot, neuron do not exist in isolation. They cannot, they are interconnected with neuronal circuit or pathway that serve a specific function. So neuron, they don't remain isolation, or they are interconnected. They are interconnected to each other and for some specific function. Now this is about the introduction. So very briefly,